The New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces are separating themselves from the rest of the league again. After their most recent wins, I think we'll get that finals rematch from 2023. Both games were pretty solid as well, and the Liberty's win was more of a statement to the league, and while the Aces was obviously similar, this was more of a statement to themselves. And I think in both games, it really proved that when these two teams are clicking, healthy, and on the same page, they're almost unbeatable. The Liberty played the Lynx in a heavily anticipated matchup, with the Lynx on a roll, being led by the rookie Olivia Miles. Now they are waiting for Napheesa Collier to get back, as well as Dorka Juhas, but they've been winning without her, just putting fear into the hearts of the rest of the league. But honestly, they hadn't run into the Liberty yet, and it sounds almost rude to say, but they weren't on a roll against the best teams in the league. And while I would have argued for Atlanta, they've since come back and beat that team as well, on top of the Chicago Sky and the Washington Mystics. So at this point, the only teams they really haven't beat are the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty. And one could argue Napheesa Collier would change this, but I think a solid counterpoint is the chemistry with Olivia Miles. The rest of the team is rolling, and it will create some more gravity to Collier. It doesn't matter how you slice it. Even Courtney Williams, who's going crazy at the mid-range, will either consciously or subconsciously still look to feed Fee or make sure she's touching the ball at some point. I mean, it's half her job. So depending on how well and how fast Collier can come back will most definitely determine how far this Lynx team can really go. I mean, even right now without her, they're obviously making it into the playoffs, but they're strong enough to take out whoever they face in the first round. And even a game like this against the Liberty shows why they're such a strong team. It wasn't necessarily out of their control per se, really, until it became obvious they weren't going to get the stops they needed in the third and the fourth. Like, the game was within reach, but they weren't getting over that hump. Not only were the Liberty connected on defense, but they were on fire on offense. Breanna Stewart went off for 36 points. She did grab 7 rebounds, but she was just out there feeling herself. Now, this is obviously off an MVP game from the Commissioner's Cup. She's obviously showing out because, yes, this is a national game, and Napheesa Collier is not playing her matchup. So you really have no choice but to ball out. And then lastly, Sabrina Ionescu is back in good form. So Breanna Stewart can now just focus on playing her game. She doesn't have to worry about filling any holes for another missing superstar, because I think that's really what unlocked the rest of the team, more specifically the rest of the starters. All of their starters scored in double digits, and I truly believe this is Sabrina coming back in and taking over where she needs to on offense and on defense. This new gravity thing they're all talking about. Because again, even subconsciously, your teammates are aware you're on the floor and that you're a threat and that they need to feed you. Sabrina had 17 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 2 rebounds. She was just active. And honestly, this goes back to that Commissioner Cup game when she was really finding herself. And while both were great wins, you can really just see the Liberty playing themselves. Like they like to say in those interviews, we just play Liberty basketball. That's what they were doing in both games. It was obviously a game plan against these teams, but they were just solid games. Jonquel Jones was able to put up 14 points and 15 rebounds. Again, I think that's just highlighting everyone being able to go back to doing their job. I don't know why he isn't playing Benijah Laney Hamilton. I think if nothing else, it shows how tight the Liberty's coach was trying to play the game, just not wanting to let it get out of hand. Every small run the Lynx did go on, he was calling a timeout, regrouping, and making sure not to get another L on his record. But they're also getting some great production and activity from their rookie. Astier is putting up 14 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. Honestly, out there playing very, very comfortably. Putting the moves on Courtney Williams, making it tough on her on defense. I liked what I saw from this rookie on both sides of the floor. Again, someone just doing their job because everybody else on the team is able to do theirs. I even liked the couple of blocks they got from Han Chu. I mean, this team is tall, especially with her on the floor. And it's like the Lynx forgot. But ultimately, even they played a pretty solid game. Again, it wasn't a blowout. The Liberty just beat them. And for the most part, I would say the team stepped up. No one was necessarily quote unquote missing, but they were having so much trouble down low in the paint, or really just against the bigs. You got 7 points from Natasha Howard, only hitting 3 of her 10 attempts. Nia Coffey gave you 7, only hitting 2 of her 11 attempts. And between the two of them, Jonquel Jones still had more rebounds. If it wasn't for their guards, the Lynx would have been completely out-rebounded in this game. Olivia Miles gave you 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. Honestly, she looked a little bit frustrated there. It was funny to see in this game, especially going up against Sabrina Ionescu, because not only is Sabrina a veteran, but she's a different type of guard. One Miles really hasn't come across in the league as of yet. And Sabrina's a beast. We didn't see her in the beginning of this season. She's reminding everyone who she is, and Olivia Miles got a nice dose of that in this game. She tried her trash talking or getting into Sabrina's head, but honestly, this team got humbled. They're going to stand on the fact that Napheesa Collier was not in the game, but they know they're strong enough to take on tough teams. Even with just this lineup, I can promise you they feel like if they got a little bit more from Maya Caldwell or Liatu King, that the game would have been even closer. So I did kind of feel for the rookie. I think this was the first loss they really not just wanted to win, but were going to hold themselves to a standard in. But again, I thought they got the production they should have gotten from their guards. Kayla McBride gave him 18. Courtney Williams had 16 and 5 assists. So even just a couple more shots there. I mean, again, this was a pretty straight up game. It was very competitive. Everyone was focused. Everyone was present. But the Liberty just put on a statement win. I mean, obviously they had to win because the Lynx don't have their franchise player. But to win in this fashion was the most important. Controlling the game, making it very difficult for the Lynx in the paint, forcing them to take long twos and 3-point shots. But mostly, I just think they're finding that form now that their floor general is back. And speaking of floor generals, oh my God, did Chelsea Gray have a night? 18 points and 6 assists, but mostly hitting those clutch shots when it matters. I'm telling you, if the WNBA had a clutch award, it would go to Chelsea Gray. The Las Vegas Aces played the Chicago Sky and honestly had a statement win of their own. The Aces went in without A'ja Wilson, and after losing that Commissioner Cup game, really when they had a few opportunities to win, I know they came into this one determined to show this come to form without A'ja Wilson on the floor. And to be honest, they pretty much pulled it off. I mean, they had a nice lead for a majority of the first half. Chicago would go on a run and the Aces would put some distance and then they do it again. But the obvious star for the Aces last night was NaLyssa Smith, putting up 29 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. I just know she was sniffing that 30 piece. But really, she did exactly what she needed to do in a game without A'ja Wilson. And not just to say assert dominance, but take advantage of your openings. They're not scouting necessarily for NaLyssa Smith specifically on offense, and that's where she took advantage. Right at the cup, she wasn't hitting threes, she was going dummy right in the paint, hitting little baby hook shots and scoring off quick dump off passes. Honestly, it was a great game for her, a nice showing really for her future on the Aces. I think she loves this team. So for Smith, I'm happy she was able to have a game like this. Hopefully we get more from her similar to this in the future again, or we know A'ja Wilson is going to have a lot of that gravity, but now they know, or at least now A'ja knows she has an option when she's doubled, and the game plan has to change on the fly. So I know Smith is happy with this performance and the team is ecstatic with this performance. Now me, I loved what we were getting from Jewell Loyd. We were finally getting some gold mamba. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, she did hit a couple threes, but my favorite buckets were the ones where she was driving and did a quick pull-up at the free throw line, or did a quick hezzy and drove to the basket. She said this is how she likes to score, so score. And in a game like this, when A'ja Wilson isn't there, she's probably given a little more rope to do so. Again, the majority of her points did come from threes, so she's still within the Aces game plan and doing what they want her to do, but those couple of buckets where it looked like she was just scoring from muscle memory also came at important points in the game where the Aces were losing that comfortable cushion of a lead. I know in at least one interview she was saying this is how they want her to play. She was saying she's in a different system and she's playing the way they want her to play. And that's great, but I really find it hard to argue if you're scoring. So hopefully we get this production from Jewell Loyd as well. 19 points is nothing to scoff at, and I promise you that's why they brought her there. And again, you're replacing Kelsey Plum, so yeah, please drive. Now you also got 16 points from Jackie Young, who had a solid game after going off in the Commissioner's Cup, so no flack there. They got decent production from the bench, Parker Tyus, Kirsten Bell, Kennedy Carter, but man, they honestly just went off in overtime. They had a pretty decent lead, and again, the Sky just kept going on these little mini runs, and the Aces would figure out how to put that distance back between them. And unfortunately, down in the fourth, Skylar Diggins and Natasha Cloud decided that last run was for the win. I was actually most impressed with Skylar Diggins watching this game. Just her shiftiness, I guess, getting comfortable and back to form. Maybe I missed this version of her in the Storm, but she's getting active, taking contact. It reminds me of street ball. It was just a couple of moves that had me like, whoa. 19 points, 4 assists. She's obviously just in score mode. Can't be mad at that at all. And even coming off the bench, they got 15 points from Natasha Cloud, whose points came in very clutch in the fourth quarter, and presence was important at least in the beginning of overtime. But they got a solid game from Camila Cardoso, 16 points, 10 rebounds, a nice double-double. I think they could have got a little more from Azurá Stevens in a game where your bigs can kind of overpower the fact that A'ja Wilson isn't there. 11 points, 2 rebounds. I would have loved to see her have an active game, and that most definitely would have guaranteed this win against the Aces. Now, I think winning this game for the Aces would have been expected with or without A'ja Wilson, but the way they won this game was very important to the Aces as a team, because no disrespect to the Chicago Sky, but that's not making or breaking them in the playoffs. But finding this production from the other players is what will actually get them through the playoff series and into the finals. Now, I can see a world where the Lynx or even Dallas, okay, could sneak in, but as of right now, after watching these two games, I honestly think we will have a finals rematch between the Aces and the Liberty. They actually play New York at the end of July, so I will definitely have that game circled on my calendar. But yeah, two solid games. I think we'll get a finals rematch from a couple years ago, but what do you think? Do you think we're looking at the two strongest teams in the league, or you got the Lynx or Dallas knocking them off?
Don't forget to like and subscribe, players.